Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. So today Apple had a ton of new announcements at the Worldwide Developers Conference. Let's take a look at the highlights. So we finally know what the next version of macOS is going to be called. It's going to be called High Sierra. It's kind of like how we had Lion and then Mountain Lion and then Leopard and then Snow Leopard. So now we're going from Sierra to High Sierra, and Apple seemed to imply that there's going to be an emphasis on improving performance and optimizing the system, not necessarily throwing a whole bunch of new features in there. But we are going to get some, like the ability to prevent autoplay on pages that we visit in Safari, a split view that's going to allow you to do the Compose window and the regular Mail window at the same time, the APFS file system, which is Apple's new file system, which is going to be faster and more reliable, and also just some better graphics and all sorts of things for developers that are going to lead to better apps. Next, Apple got into hardware announcements. They announced basically that they're updating all iMacs and all MacBooks. So there's going to be new iMacs with speed bumps across the board, more memory in them, including up to 64 gigs of RAM available in the highest end. And there's going to be better graphics chips. There's going to be Thunderbolt 3 ports, faster drives, bigger drives as well. And those are available today. And the prices are about the same. Also, MacBooks. So there's going to be speed bumps along all the different MacBooks, even including the MacBook Air, which a lot of people thought maybe wouldn't be updated at all. But you'll be able to get some pretty good MacBooks, and those are also available today. Now, kind of a surprise is a new iMac called the iMac Pro. And this is going to be a different color. It's going to be space gray. And it's going to go all the way up to 18 cores Xeon processor. And 128 gigs of RAM if you want to max it out. And this is not going to come out until later this year, December. And it's going to start at about $5,000. And you'll be able to, of course, go up from there with getting the top specs and everything like that. But it's a little unclear whether this is actually replacing the Mac Pro, and we won't see another one of those, or whether this is going to be in addition to a new Mac Pro perhaps next year. Now, we already knew, of course, that the next iOS would be called simply iOS 11. But now we know a little more what's in it. There's some cool features, like for instance, Apple Pay. You can now do person-to-person through the Messages app. So if you owe someone some money, you can send it to them. Siri is going to have a translation feature. You can ask it how to say things in different languages. There's going to be better compression in camera. And they also talked about live photos. You know, the little bits of video that are included with the photos you take. It looks like the new version in iOS 11 will have full frame video for everything, because you can choose which frame you want to use for the picture, and you can also apply effects, like for instance make loops or bouncy loops going back and forth, kind of like animated GIF kind of things. And you can also convert to long exposure using multiple frames. So some really neat things there. There's also a redesign of parts of iOS 11, like the control center. It's going to look very new, and it's going to be one screen again. Maps is going to have things like lane guidance, speed limits listed, and some maps for malls and airports. There's also going to be a do not disturb while driving mode that recognizes when you're driving and then stops things like messages and such from coming through. And there's a bunch of different controls for that. So we'll have to see how that works out when we get it. And also a complete redesign of the App Store app. There's a new piece of hardware in the iOS world too. It's going to be a new iPad Pro. So instead of being a new one on the smaller size or the larger size, it's going to be right in the middle. So it's going to be a 10.5-inch screen. There's still going to be the 12.9-inch screen as well. So those are going to be the two versions of the iPad Pro. It's going to be speed bumps and improvements, including using the new A10 processor. There's also going to be double memory, so it's going to be 64 gigs of memory in both Mac Pro models. And those are actually going to be available next week, and you can order them today. Perhaps the most interesting part of today's announcements were changes to iOS 11 that are only for the iPad. So the iPad's going to get all these features that's going to make it a lot more Mac-like. These features don't look like they're going to be available on the iPhone, just the iPad. So you're going to get things like the ability to drag and drop between apps. You're going to get a dock where you can put more than just 6 app icons, and you can get it to appear while you're using another app, not just on the home screen. Plus, you're going to get a new app called Files, which basically looks like the Finder. It allows you to access the files in iCloud, so kind of like iCloud Drive is now, but also in other places. So for instance Dropbox, Box.net, and some other services. It looks like a complete access to all of the different files, and it integrates with other apps. And finally, as many people expected, they announced a competitor to the Amazon Echo, and it's called the HomePod. And it's a speaker system, and they emphasize the quality of the sound. It actually is going to have an iPhone chip in it, an A8 chip in it. So it's going to be pretty powerful and supposed to have this great sound. It's going to be able to access all of Apple Music, and you'll also be able to use it to access Siri for all of the things you use Siri for. It's going to run $349, and it's going to be available at the end of the year. It's going to come in 2 different colors. So I think this is going to be a big hit initially, but whether or not it's a long-term thing, we'll have to see.